Hello, good morning. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for being here with us today. I am Rodrigo Caraça, Investors Relation Manager for Iochpe-Maxion. Welcome to our Investors Day. First of all, I'd like to introduce you to all of our panelists we're going to have today. Marcos Oliveira, company's CEO, Elcio Ito, company's CFO, Luis Abreu, Director of Strategy and Investors Relation, Renato Brighenti, Structural Components CEO, Peter Klinkers, CEO for Maxion Wheels. I hope you enjoy our content today, everything we've prepared for you. And with this, I will now give the floor to Marcos Oliveira. Good morning, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to Cruzeiro. It is a pleasure to have you here with us. And I believe most of you who have had the opportunity to come here and visit us in Cruzeiro will get to know a little bit more of Maxion and our activities in regard to structural components and wheels. I would also like to use this opportunity to welcome everyone who is watching everything online and those of you who are here with the opportunity to be able to see our presentations today. And also, you're going to see everything we have been doing and what we are planning on doing in regard to products, processes, technologies, footprint. And I think this is an interesting opportunity. Presentations here today during this morning is going to be very focused. We are going to give you an overview of what Iochpe-Maxion is all about, and then Elcio Ito is going to talk a little bit more about the company on a broader perspective. Peter Klinkers is going to talk about Maxion Wheels. Renato Brighenti will expose everything about the structural components, and then we are going to have a Q&A moment at the end of this session. The presentations are all going to be in Portuguese, except for the one given by Peter Klinkers, who is going to be presenting in English. If you need simultaneous interpreting, you are going to be able to use the receivers that you have right scattered in the room for you to pick up. And in the Q&A, we are also going to have the same. You can pose your questions in Portuguese or in English. All right, never mind. So, in general lines, what we have is the following: we have a strategy that is being focused on tax discipline, a concern regarding strengthening our balance continuously, but also looking ahead towards the future with growth, transformation, and the automotive industry. In general, the industry is undergoing a transformation not only concerning electrification, but also an increase in technology in vehicles, autonomous vehicles. They are becoming more and more a reality. And this process is one that we have been facing for the last 5 to 6 years in a clearer way, but also still posing some uncertainties in regard to what technology is going to be prevalent, what is going to be really developed. And this is why we are inserted into this context of being able to positively impact this transformation in this industry of mobility, and also with the history of our own company, which is a history of growth, business development, and this has made us resilient to this type of oscillations and technological transformations and changes in the last few years, and also demand variation that occur in different regions all over the world. Our business model is very much aligned to what the industry has. And as part of our DNA, it is the innovation. And this is being a concern, bringing solutions to our clients. This is even more important in this technological transition moment. We have a much clearer focus of what we have and we call advanced engineering, not only wheels, but also in structural components. We've been working towards this type of innovation. But in general lines, we sell more than 50 million wheels all over the world. And we are the largest producer. We are one of the leaders in the delivery of structural components in Americas, North and South. We have a very aligned strategy, aligned with this transformation in the sector, and the focus not only on innovation, but also with developing with sustainability. We are going to mention a little bit of the innovations today with regard to sustainability, and you are going to get to see what we are doing with our product, with the technology, and the continuous expectations that the customers have with investors, and how we can deliver products that are going to support all of the efforts towards making the planet a more friendly place to be in the future. We have 32 plants in 14 countries, more than 17,000 employees all over the world. And we align technology in our processes. We want to know where we can automate the processes, and we want to be able to demand a larger participation from employees who can actually have us deliver this diverse portfolio we have. At Maxion Wheels, our wheels division, we produce steel wheels for light and commercial vehicles. We also produce aluminum and light alloy wheels. And for 2022, we are studying to build wheels in another plant, one for aluminum wheels for commercial vehicles. So during the presentation, you're going to get to know about this a little bit deeper with Peter Klinkers. Maxion Wheels represents 73% of all of the revenue for the group. In regard to structural components, 27% of our revenue, we produce structural components for light vehicles and also commercial vehicles, with focus on commercial vehicles, with chassis, frames, and other components in South America and also in North America. We have a global presence. We have 32 plants all over the world. We are in every continent, main countries that are vehicle producers in the world, and the production is more concentrated in Brazil, Mexico, Turkey, the Czech Republic, and India, where we see that there is a demand for this due to the car production. But we are also in Spain, Italy, Germany, in Thailand, China, the United States, Argentina. And with this, our business model complements itself very well with a global presence, but at the same time, a local execution. We talk about nearshoring, things that are happening in the business era, and concerns with geopolitics, global concern, and how much this is aligned with our business model. This has been developed based on production that is close to our clients. And this gives us a very interesting heading in our business in terms of currency, in terms of business conditions. We purchase raw material regionally, we use regional manpower. This is how we meet our clients' demands at the main regions we operate. One of the attributes that we have that is more prominent within the company is our ability of engineering. When we talk about serving vehicles producers, we are concerned about recalls, the vehicle durability, so it's very important. Engineering is established with know-how and knowledge, and this is important to meet clients' needs. With the best products, the more efficient products we can, more competitive and also with good cost, and Durability. Maxion has become well renowned globally and has this credibility with clients as a result of this engineering capacity, not only within the ones that work within the company, but also with the tools that we work with to develop products. So computers, special softwares, state-of-the-art equipment to be able to work with electronic modeling, simulations, and development of products to meet clients' needs. The know-how in regard to the sector is important because despite the technicalities of what we do and how they are consistent in the world, their needs are different. They have different roads, different streets. You see, in Brazil, Brazil's so different if you compare it to the United States or Germany, for example. So requirements are important, but the environmental conditions and the market conditions are different. You have to have that global awareness of what the market is, but the application of the product is going to be local in the region where they work with our products, and also considering the necessities, the needs of the market. We are following trends closely within the industry. Abreu, Peters, and they're going to talk about the trend in regard to the products we work with and how the products are inserted into these trends. We've been observing this. There are processes that are there for production, for the productions of components and systems of high quality. Our products, one of the characteristics of our products, large scaling production. If you need processes that are trustworthy and robust, we have them. But at the same time, we are flexible and agile. In our industry, we see this a lot, especially in the last few years after the pandemics, especially. We see the concerns that the pandemics have raised, logistics, the semiconductors scarcity. Being flexible and being able to be agile to react is important. Whether the company is growing or not growing, you receive a call from your client and they say, I have to stop producing because I'm not going to have my semiconductors. You have to be able to react accordingly. You have to be able to adjust your plans for that moment, for that specific situation, that specific client need. Not necessarily, this is going to be a need that you're going to see with another client at the same time. The ability to be able to launch new products is also very important. Each new development, for example, of a steel or aluminum wheel, a new platform for a vehicle, they represent a new development. It's a wheel, yes, it is, but it's a whole new development to suit the client's needs. We have hundreds, dozens, hundreds of launches all over the world with wheels and structural components because they have to be adapted to the new platform, the new client, the new requirements, the new situation. So launches must be carried out with quality, and it's very important. There are hundreds of launches every year. Our relationship with our clients and with our suppliers and partners and the financial community. It is a long-term our long-term relationships. We need them and they need us. The credibility and our ability to be able to work with the clients the way we do and suppliers and our partners is very important and it's very dear to us. We focus on transparency and ethics and the naming of new products are long term, depending on the life of that platform. Especially with light vehicles, if you say, for example, a product is going to last 5 years within a platform of a commercial vehicle, sometimes 8 or 10 years. Usually, when we are named for a product or a specific program, we remain in a relationship for at least that lifetime of a platform. And most of the times, we end up going to the second platform that's going to happen in substitution to that previous one. Now, I would like to give the floor to Elcio. He's going to talk about the financial aspects. He is our CFO. Thank you, Marx. Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for being here with us, physically here, present. We know how hard it is for you to, commute and go to places and give a little bit of your time to be here with us. So I thank you very much, but I also thank everyone who's online. Let me talk about numbers now. I know you like the numbers, so let's talk about the market. This is a chart that we always present every trimester, every quarter. We have the predictions of two very important consultants for vehicle producers, IHS for light vehicles on the left, and LMC Auto for commercial vehicles. So we really like showing the 2019 pre-pandemic numbers before we show our new numbers. There were 2 years of very difficult with the supply chain and the semiconductor situation all over the world. We see a growth for 2023 at around 3% globally. We also include a lower line. You see, it's the global production excluding China. And why do we do that? To us, China, of course, we are present over there. We have a steel wheel for commercial vehicles plant and a recent joint venture with aluminum production, and they're just starting. But for our gross volume, we still don't see this as something that is really adding up to it. It is representative for the global market share, of course, but we end up excluding this to eliminate distortions. And as Marco said, our global footprint and our business is moved by volume in the operational performance. And this is why we like following up volume. I know that this visibility important, and you know the numbers from other consultancies, and you follow the new projects. When we look at 2023 and you exclude China numbers, you see that there is a growth that is close to 5% globally for 2023. This is the last numbers that encompasses Brazil. That is like this. If you look at into details for the market, Brazil represents 3 to 4% of light vehicle production products, and you have the North America with 5% in 2023, Europe growing at 5.2% at the same period. So this is just a detail with this graph. In order to get to 2019 levels, we are going to get the numbers close to 24 or 25 on all rate basis. It's important to emphasize that even though in 2023 with a 5%, let's see if Europe with 5.2 close to 5.3, the European market is still 20% lower than the numbers we had in 2019. We are under a recovery process with a lot of space to grow, and we'll get to the levels that were close or similar to the pandemic. So Peter Clinkers is going to still talk about this when time comes, but there's room for improvement. We're still recovering from that situation with the pandemics and the semiconductor situation. So when we talk about commercial vehicles, the dynamics are different. For 2023, excluding China, we have really close to 0 minus 1%. There's a combination of factors. Of course, Brazil, due to the Euro 6 transition, we knew and we expected that this reduction came for 2023 due to this anticipation of production that was carried out last year. And you also have data that is growing, but the numbers are stable in regard to comparisons year over year. Even though we have a Brazil with a more negative projection, we see other results moving forward really well. North America and Europe moving fast. So this is the scenario that we have for the next years and for 2023. Here are some of the highlights for 2022. We've disclosed this information in the last meeting. 24% in regard to last year is what you see in regard to the third semester, in regard to the net debt. If you look for the whole year, you're going to see 252.4 million reais, a little bit close to 9% of the debt. A lot of work was carried out during the year with cash generation, stock reduction, the use of capital, cash in a detraction with last year, and commodity cycle, and very sudden stops from OEMs. But things are going strong for 2023, and it's really reflecting the leverage for next year. We've really, it was 2.26 fold in 2022, getting to 2.33 fold in 2021. So we are really recovering the numbers that were pre-pandemic. 2.8 billion for liquidity and 105 million in dividends, and a very important ESG agenda. They are advancing very consistently, and we've been working towards that, and we notice that the speed is accelerating, especially in Europe. It's a very important theme in the industry, and we are going to work towards all of these goals, getting to the expected for 2040 with neutrality. A little bit of historical view now. I would like to use my moment today to bring you some of the important situations with Maxion. In regard to the net revenue, let's talk about a 8-year time frame, starting in 2015 all the way to 22. I would like to explain what Marcus said with numbers now. In 2022, we're going to have the division of revenue per region, with Asia with 9% and others, and South America 3.5. And along the process, the minimum and maximum range of this contribution per region during this 8 period time, so that you can see the geographic diversity can help us in supporting at a different moment in which one region is operating lower and one is higher, and they can really create this business heading along the line. You see, Europe is close to 40%. They are going through hard times from 31 to 40%, but at the same time, South America, which is today at 30.5, maximum in history, if you compare to other years, they create this diversity. So when you look at this per region, this is how it goes. But when you look at this per segment, we'll have around 40% with commercial vehicles, but at the beginning it was 35. You know, we get to see the geographical diversity, but also the diversion in regard to segment. And this helps us operating with this revenue. This is going to help us in operational margin and profitability. What you have here is a margin of 8 here. Of course, 2020 is the COVID drop numbers. And if you work on an average on EBITDA for the company, you were going to see 10.4%. And if you exclude the 20%, you are going to find 11.3%. This is what this graph shows, this diversity. And during this period, if you remember, get back to 2015 or 16 in Brazil, the automotive business in Brazil was dropping at 20% in 2016, and much more than that. We got to finally balance and offset the economic cycles at regional level and commodity cycles. Of course, commodities very up and down during this period. And we managed to maintain on a bit the margin that was relatively stable. You see a contribution of close to 11%. Some of the financial highlights are in regard to our leverage. Okay, just giving you guys a little spoiler because I can't manage this. Okay, become slow then. Okay, now I've done it too much. Okay, there's some delay. I apologize. Okay, I will keep talking. And well, so if we got to do leverage, regard to leverage, we got to 9-fold during the pandemic. And at the moment when EBITDA just was just gonna disappear, numbers dropped at around 60 to 70% in some markets and even more. And this generated a very reduced EBITDA, and this generated that leverage. And at the same time, market was recovering, and we were working on the EBITDA in cash to deliver a leverage that is closer to what we had in 2019. So in regard to liquidity, if you look at the financial numbers we had before, we never had this robust liquidity before. So this is going to be part of our financial strategy. There are some credit lines still in place and an elevated cash so that we can face crises like this in time.
Our indebtedness is at 80, almost 84% in long term, and short term, it with an average term of about 4.2 years. We have worked in the last few years with capturing more funds and extending times. So you see that even with the pandemic, we have been progressing. Uh, this is an ongoing exercise. And here you have the growth step breakdown. We have that's in various different currencies. We try to mirror our cash flow in the different uh, currencies and try to mirror that in our debt so we can have something that is more balanced. And to finalize, Marcos introduced a few topics, and you're going to follow the presentation of Peter Klinkers, Renatos, Luis. We have many initiatives coming up. This is an old industry, but it's going through a transformation that has been going through a transformation. And right now, we have a company with a global footprint, a global scale, and local execution. We feel that with electrification, we have no risks of our products not being there. Our products are going to be present, but with different added value. So we are very excited with the process, but also maintaining our discipline and looking carefully at the financial side with an adequate liquidity position and aiming at facing difficult moments the global economy may show with a continuous liability management, currency matching, and sustainable net leverage targets with a more robust leverage and more better well discipline as we are with better EBITDA, but with a higher cash. And if you look at our long term debts, we have some leverage that we are managing very carefully, especially regarding capex, prioritizing investments in maintenance, prioritizing our investments in new products that and things we have to adjust to. And we have larger projects that involve expansion and growth that are going to prioritize, while at the same time we remove bottlenecks in our positions, but always doing everything with great discipline to careful attention to our leverage, our working capital. So these are items that are included in our compensation matrix for the company. Parallel to all the initiatives Luis is going to talk about in more detail. So thank you all very much. And Luis, I gave a little bit of a spoiler of your slides. Hello, everyone. Good morning, everyone. Once again, thank you for being with us. Before moving on with the presentation, just a few messages for you. When you came in, you have received a few wristbands with different colors, and that is going to be used for our plant tour. For safety reasons and for a better enjoyment of your the plant view, we're going to divide you into groups according to the color of your wristband. And at the end of the Q&A session, we'll have a quick presentation showing you a little bit of our plant layout so you can have an idea of where you're going to walk through and what you're going to see. Another comment is why have we chosen Cruzeiro for this Investors Day today? As Marcos mentioned in the beginning of our presentation, we have 32 plants in 14 countries. And I guess it's a coincidence in terms of how the company has grown. This is the only plant we have where we have simultaneously the production of wells and structural components. All other plants are dedicated to either structural components or wells. And when we talk about wells, it's easy to understand. Everybody knows what a well is. But when you talk about structural components, that's a whole other ballgame, which is a bit harder to understand. And this will give you an opportunity to see in person the chassis, the frame, the cross beams, and other products we have, and which Renato is going to present to you further on. So, moving on and closing the financial topics, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about CAPEX. You hear always us talking about the CAPEX forecast, how much it's going to be, and everything. And usually, in the history we have since 2015, we always bring a reference regarding a percentage of EBITDA. It usually stays around 30 to 35% of our EBITDA. If you look at one year or another, it may be a little bit higher or lower than that, but we usually have this average. But when you talk about CAPEX, we can divide the it within some pillars. Maintenance, which is essential for the continuity of our business. We have visions related to legislation, environmental legislation in the 14 countries you're present, and that require changes in different places. Productivity, which is extremely important for us to know the relationship we have with the OEMs, the productivity we need to deliver them. So investing in productivity is also very important for our business and growth, expansion of our business. And here we have a chart where we try to bring you the main investment and expansion we have done throughout this period. So if you look at 2015 to 2016, during this period, when you talked about producing aluminum wells, we had a single plant in Santo André. As of this period, we increased the capacity of this plant and we built a new aluminum wheel plant in Limeira, where we already had the steel wheel plant in the same site we now have. From 2016 to 2017, we continued investing in aluminum with expansion of the plant in Thailand. In 2017, we started investing in a stamping plant in Mexico, located in Monterrey. It was very focused on the production of crossbeams, and then we started investing also on stamping products. As of 2018, up to 21, 22, we go back to a strong investment in aluminum. We built a new aluminum plant in India. It's the country we were present in, but only with steel wheels, both for light and commercial vehicles. And then we have a partnership we mentioned with Dolphin in China for the production of aluminum wheels for the Chinese market. We had a plant for the production of steel wheels, but only for export. This is our products we don't sell in the local market in China. And then halfway through the second semester of last year, we announced investment in commercial vehicles, both for wheels and structural components. You're going to be able to observe an outsourcing process here. We have absorbed about 80% of the production of a specific OEM of their production. You will also see the expansion. We had the expansion of steel wheels for trucks in Turkey. Mark talked about that. This uh, we have an investment in construction of a new plant in Turkey for a segment we don't have, which is steel wheels for trucks, and it should be operational somewhere between 24 and 2025. And we have the expansion of structural components in our plant in Mexico. Trends for the automotive sector. Our sector is going through a huge transformation with a lot of questions and doubts. Here we have the main trends. Peter and I is going to dive deeper into them. But for their business specifically, wells and structural components. When I look at it in general, we have an issue called shared mobility. And what does that mean? Historically, we have worked with the concept of owning our own vehicle, where the use in terms of hours that is very low, let's say 2 to 3 years. And we talk a lot about sharing vehicles, and then you have a whole new concept. We might not even own the vehicle, and we would be sharing one. And from that will give way to several different things, how the questions as how this is going to affect the volume of production in the sector, if it's going to increase or reduce. Some people say you have a reduction because you have less people buying, but then you will have another a part of the market that says, well, when you share, the use is going to be higher for each vehicle, so that's going to increase the need for renewal. So we have a lot of debate on that. Another issue, another trend is connectivity. Our vehicles have a lot of connectivity receiving in all the vehicles. This is changing very quickly. Autonomous driving, this is another trend. I don't know where's the limit. Uh, we already have some autonomous vehicles somewhere, but I think it's hard to imagine getting to a day where all the vehicles are autonomously driven. And we have a sustainability issue that is very important in all sectors nowadays, and electrification. This is a no return path in some of the sectors of the industries. They are going to have to reinvent themselves, and many of you may be asking yourselves how this affects us. We have always said that electrification has a neutral impact or a positive one because our products are going to continue the same whether you have a hybrid, a fuel engine, or an electrical vehicle. Structural components and wheels are going to be in any of them. And when you talk about the positive impact, thinking of the company's strategy, we look at opportunities we may have to advance in the supply chain, bringing new products into our portfolio, keeping close to our knowledge, to the way we process raw materials, to the engineering area we act and operate in, and the knowledge we have of the automotive sector. And this trend that is very positive for us, and we want to show in this slide, is this partnership we have closed about 2 weeks ago with 4C Power. This is a partnership made by the Structural Components Division. This is an European producer specialized in integrated batteries. And how is this partnership going to operate? To give you a little bit of a view of this, let's see if I can zoom in on that. Okay, you can. So let's keep on that. They produce the battery modules, and as we show in this box, we have the integration of the battery models with stamped products. The names change a little bit, and Renata may talk about that, but what we call here the battery cradle, and up to the frame of the vehicle focused on commercial vehicles. And the goal of this partnership is to provide our clients with an integrated solution, a customized solution. And we have an example of the integration of our product with the 4C Power products in trucks and buses, and electric trucks and buses. And this could provide us a competitive advantage and provide this advantage to our clients. This is what I wanted to talk to you about. Now we have Peter talking to you, then Renato, and they are going to talk a little bit more about the trends in our market. Good morning, everyone. My name is Peter Klinkers. I'm from the Netherlands, half Germany, but I work in Germany. I didn't have worked there for 15 years. I speak different languages. And in the last 5 to 6 weeks, I've been trying to learn a very little bit of Portuguese.
But I propose to you that we now change to English, otherwise I keep you busy 3 hours. But I have a question for you, by the way. What's the most spoken language in the world, you think? Make a guess. Mandarin, English, Portuguese. It's bad English. So I propose we continue with that. Let's have a look at the wheels. Don't want to talk too much about the industry and what's all going on. I can just tell you that as a big supplier to the automotive industry, Maxion Wheels is of course involved in all of that Luis was talking about, that Marcus and Elcio were talking about. My intent here is to give you a flavor of how we are involved in all of that new mobility stuff. And I hope that at the end of the presentation you kind of agree with me that if anything, wheels matter, you see it there. And we believe that maybe they will matter even a little bit more in the future than they have been doing over the last couple of years. So, Luis showed you this slide. I want to focus, for the sake of time, a little bit on electrification and sustainability. And you may say, electrification, yeah, that's a big thing in the industry, but for wheels, doesn't matter, right? Because whether the car has an ICE or it has a battery, it needs wheels anyway, and that's right, and we're happy with that. That's good. Huh? But still, there is a lot of impact on wheels because of electrification. One thing, obvious, batteries are kind of heavy, so we need even more light weighting, and so that's playing a role in the wheels. But also, maybe not so obvious, wheels will be and are becoming more and more aerodynamic. If you Google a new car in Europe, BMW 3 Series, and you Google this wheel with that tire, or that wheel with that tire, the range can differ between 30 and 35 kilometers, just because of the aerodynamics of the wheel. and the shape of the tire. So very important for us to work on that. Wheels are becoming larger. They may also become narrower to not have so much rolling resistance. Noise reduction. You know, in the past or today, you hear the engine in the car. You may like that or you may not like that, but you hear the engine. If there's batteries, you don't hear the engine anymore, but you hear some other things, right, that you may not like. And so from a wheel point of view, we're working very hard on eliminating those noises. So we believe, if anything, you know, there will be an increased need for expertise because of new mobility, because of electrification in particular, and there will be an increased value add from wheels because of these trends. The same for sustainability. You know, it's good, it's nice that we work on sustainability, and it's a lot of hard work. Not so easy to get the CO2 out of the vehicle, besides changing the engine from ICE to batteries. But it's a lot of hard work, and if anything, it requires a lot of expertise. And so as a global wheel manufacturer in the business for over 100 years, we believe we have a little bit of a competitive advantage there. So hard work, good work, but an increased need, again, for expertise in wheels. Now, one thing that is also important, and you may think this is a wrong slide in this presentation. What does that have to do with mobility on wheels? You know, but if you think about wheels, you know, sometimes style also plays a large role. You know, style many times comes from fashion, and then it goes into appliances. That's what you see on this slide. And this is one of the new fashions that you see more and more coming up. And as a matter of fact, you also see it on cars, right? Also, especially on grills. They used to be there to cool the engine. It's not needed so much anymore in the future. And you see this kind of styling coming up in cars. And as a matter of fact, you see it coming up in wheels as well. But when we talk about wheels, we will always have this combination of function and styling. You see the lightweight needs to be there, the aerodynamics need to be there, the NVH, the noise, vibration, harshness, the noise elimination, connectivity, that all needs to be there. But if the wheel does not look good, many customers don't want to have it, right? So there will always be this combination for style and function for wheels. And if we believe our customers, you know, this is not us drawing this is our customers telling this, these are our prototypes, this is what we will launch in the next coming years. Now, I may be a little bit biased. I'm a wheels guy, right? Wheels and tires guy. I may be biased, but I hope you agree with me that, you know, the wheels here, I mean, they look to be rather more predominant on the vehicle, have a larger role on the vehicle than less, right? So we believe in wheels in the future. Not only aluminum wheels. I mean, you look at this wheel here. It's a wheel for Fisker. You know that brand? It's relaunched in Europe. We are going to sell hundreds of thousands of wheels. Only supplier, but a lot of combination of functionality and styling in these wheels. But also for steel wheels, right? This combination of function and styling, it matters. And you see on the left side there, it's a conventional wheel. Then we have a versatile wheel that allows a little bit more styling from a steel wheel point of view. A new versatile kind of wheel, a styled wheel, semi-full face we have it, and we have something pretty innovative, I would say. I'll come back to that later in the presentation, called Bionic. Now, but also for steel wheels, you know, this combination of style and functionality plays a big role. Now, where do we make all those wheels? Basically, we have 3 blocks in the world, right? The block in the middle, called Europe. By the way, Marcus gave one forward-looking statement. He was talking about 50 million wheels. I agree with him. If you count these numbers, it's 46 million wheels. So we want to make 50 million wheels, and that's not enough. But 20 million wheels out of the 46 million wheels in 2022 coming from Europe. We have 11 facilities there to make those wheels. And then we have the Americas, kind of same size for us, fairly equal split between North America, South America, 9 million and 11 million. And then we have a BU called Asia. 10, 11 years ago, we only had 1.5 million wheels. Now we have 6 million wheels. I know it will grow to 10 million wheels. I don't know. We need a lot more money from you guys to grow to 20 million wheels. But that's an important business unit for us, and we are growing that area. So let's have a little bit of a deeper look in Asia. We have a plant in Thailand. Don't want to talk about that too much right now. Focus on China and India. So if we look on India, I think we all agree that's a growing market, and You can read many articles that this will be the third largest market in the world. 25 million vehicles. That's the far outlook for India. Same for truck. I mean, that market should triple over the next 10 years. And I'm happy to say that Maxion Wheels has a very good presence in India. We have a plant for passenger car steel wheels that made 2 million wheels. That's just to give you an indication. I'm not going to talk about every plant, but 2 million wheels in 2019. We made 3 million wheels last year, and I'm pretty sure we will be around 4 million wheels in 1 or 2 years from now. And at the same time, we built a new aluminum wheels plant only 4 or 5 years ago. I'm going there next month to celebrate, also to work a little bit, but also to celebrate the finishing of the first phase of the investment, 2 million wheels, that is completely sold out. We are intending to build as soon as we can more capacity to keep on growing in this market, both on the passenger side as well as on the truck wheel side. We have a good truck wheel plant there as well. Some wheels that you see here, we are the largest producer of wheels for Tata. And that's not a typo that you see there. On the bottom right, you see it's a steel wheel. That is the versatile wheel that I showed you on the other slide. It gives a lot of room for styling. That is actually a steel wheel that you see on the vehicle. Going to China. I talked about it a little bit before. That is a vast market, and we are very small still in that market. But I think we can say, the truck wheel plant, we struggled a little bit in the beginning, a wholly old facility. But we're getting some more traction now, also because of new mobility and the need for fuel efficiency and the need for better wheels, stronger wheels. We're getting some traction, and we now have a decent plant in there that we are expanding, mainly with equipment that we took out of the US when we restructured here in the Americas. On the passenger side, you've heard it before. We have this joint venture with Dongfeng, which is one of the biggest automotive companies in China. And if you look at that, I remember Marcus and me and a few other people cutting a ribbon, opening, celebrating the buying of the land, etc., in November of 2019 in a place called Wuhan. So my kids asked me, Papa, what's Wuhan? Right? They asked that in 19. Nobody's asking anymore today, what is Wuhan or where is Wuhan? So we've not been there ever since. I'm going there now in June the first time. But I have to believe, based on the pictures that I see, that the guys were able to build the plant, put in the equipment, and we are making wheels. So top wheel is for NIO, that's the premium electric vehicle brand in China. And the bottom is a wheel for Voya, which is the electric branch of Dongfeng. They have their own vehicles. They also have joint ventures with Hyundai, Kia, Honda, Nissan, etc. So pretty amazing that we pull that off. More to come from us in China. Also from a truck side, with the global OEMs going there, the Daimlers, the Volvos, the Scanias, I think we'll have a good chance to grow with them because they need, more international-like wheels. Fuel efficiency is playing a bigger role for them. Going to Europe. Don't want to talk about every plant, but I think when you keep in mind we have 11 plants, we created a very strong footprint in Europe. And we can talk a lot about Europe. We did a little bit yesterday with a few people during dinner. A lot has been going on in Europe, but we see Europe coming back a little bit stronger than what we were hoping for. Right now, the market is pretty good for us in Europe, and that's mitigating some of the effects that we see, for instance, to a certain extent in Brazil. Good aluminum wheel plants. We have a plant in Italy that is supplying premium brands like Porsche, BMW, Range Rover. We have strong operations in the Czech. We have a fully loaded truck wheel plant in Germany, and we have world-class operations in Turkey. I believe our plants in Turkey are among the best wheel plants in the world. Not Maxion wheel plants in the world, but wheel plants in the world. So very strong operations in Europe, a good market right now. And I think also a lot of focus in this region on sustainability, on innovation, on new mobility. And whatever we learn in Europe, of course, we use it in other parts of the world where this will also come up to the same extent as what is happening in Europe right now. We talked about some pretty nice wheels here for Fisker. Talked about that before. We're supplying Tesla in Europe in the factory in Berlin. We are the largest supplier to Range Rover, 23-inch wheels. That's larger than a truck wheel. We're making those in Italy, and we're supplying millions of wheels to Volkswagen around the world, primarily in Europe. And so Luis talked already about some of the expansions, but I can tell you that the new truck wheel plant that we opened end of last year, it's operating at full utilization because the market is good and demand for our wheels is very high. And then we hope to have the same for the aluminum truck wheel plant that we want to launch in 2025, but that's 2 more years to go. But we expect good traction there as well. Customers are very much waiting for us to be operating that plant in 2 years from now. Nice wheel, I would say. I like wheels, but a nice truck wheel. Looks better than current wheels. If we look at North America, I don't want to talk too much about the market. I think you know that market pretty well, but we have a good footprint there. We restructured a few years ago, but we have good plants in Mexico. We have a solid plant in the US. But one thing I do want to talk about, we talked about Versa-style wheels, those styling steel wheels. But here also, we are trying to launch this wheel with the fancy name Bionic. And so we're talking to customers about this wheel, and we get a lot of good traction. We like it ourselves. We think there is a future for this wheel, but also our customers, the initial reactions from them are very, very positive. They're very enthusiastic. This wheel is patented. That's why I want to talk about it now. We know how to make the wheel. We're in the process of internal homologation. Talking first in North America because we think that's the most obvious fit, but if it works out in North America, we can roll that out globally along our plants. Now, this is really a combination of sustainability. A steel wheel, is more sustainable than an aluminum wheel. 3-4 times more sustainable. Scope 1, Scope 2, Scope 3 altogether. It's of course cheaper than an aluminum wheel. It gives a lot of styling. I like the styling. Many customers seem to like this styling. And so we get, there's aerodynamics here, you see? This is a flat face, gives aerodynamics. There's styling in there. We can print your name on it or the customer's name on it. So a lot of features that tick the boxes. And so we hope to launch this product in 2025. Get a customer order over the next 12 months and launch this wheel for the first time in 2025. Let's see. And then a little bit less sexy, but still very important for us. We were not able to supply wheels in any meaningful way to what we call niche markets like trailer, caravan, but that's a big, big market. This was predominantly served by Asians, but both European governments as well as the US government put in place some measures, monetary measures, anti-dumping, but also technical measures, raising the specs for wheels that need to be supplied to their customers in these markets, and that gives us some better opportunities to supply these wheels as well. And that gives us some good opportunity to keep our steel wheel plants well utilized. And so we're working on that as well. And then last but not least, South America. You all know about the dip in the truck market that is happening right now. We knew that. It's not a big surprise for us, but also, at least from a wheels point of view, I can say we're mitigating that to a good extent because when we ran out of capacity, which we did invest here in Cruzeiro in truck wheels, but before we had that new capacity, we were selective in which customers to serve and which not. Now we are not so selective, and so we see some room. We also make agricultural wheels here in Brazil in this plant, and that's a good market. That's a booming market and a very profitable market for us. So we like the truck wheels in Brazil. We're doing good in pass cars as well. Our plants are increasing volumes, so it seems that we're present on the right platform. So overall, I cannot complain about Brazil, not even at this stage. Some of the wheels, you see this Versa-style wheel, we're not only making it in India, we're making it in Europe, in India, in North America, and we're now also making it in Brazil. That's how the wheel looks on the top when we produce it, and then on the left side you see how it looks on the vehicle. And then here you see the agricultural wheels. You will see them when you go into the plant up to 42-inch. It's quite impressive. So in a nutshell, wrapping it up, I think we do have a very good global footprint, and we do have very good expansions that are going on. And so far, so good. You know, we've never had a miss with our expansions. So when we expand, the execution was successful and the market was there. We have cost competitiveness in our DNA, not Dutch, not just because I'm Dutch. That's in our DNA since 100 times. You know, we need to be, this is a very competitive industry. We need to be very competitive, and we are sharing all the knowledge that you know, we gain around the world. We're sharing that with all the regions. We do have strategic solutions. You know, I think innovation really became something very much more important. Like 10 years ago, we said we need to do more, and we have developed a certain DNA in doing that. And then, you know, I'm kind of most proud on having very engaged teams. When we did a survey, how long was that ago? 18 months? I mean, when the results came back, it was better than what we would have hoped for. We were in the top of the top 5% of companies in automotive industry. So we were very pleased to see that. I noticed that when I, again, now travel around the world, I see that the people are very engaged. That's a very important asset in our company. So wrapping it up, we think much change has been going on regarding wheels, and there is more to come. In the middle there, on the below on the slide, that is a steel wheel. That is a bionic wheel. Now we're talking with customers about new solutions that combine function and styling. And so, you know, if you guys believe in industry, if you like global, then I think, you know, I hope you believe a little bit like we believe that wheels are there. They are there to stay. And if anything, they will create more added value instead of less added value, because of the new mobility that is going on. And so if you like industry, global, you like wheels, you even like wheels, then I hope you do like Maxion wheels. We have the right products, we have the right teams, we have the right footprint. And then, you know, look at the last 2 points. We are committed to grow above industry averages this year. And the last one, you know, that's not an easy one, but it's a really necessary one. And I know you guys know better than I that you know, past performance doesn't guarantee future success, right? But we do have a very strong track record in this company to recover total global costs. And I'm committed, my whole team is very, very much committed to keep that track record. Okay? With that, thank you very much. And I pass the word to my colleague, Renato.
Thanks, Peter. If you're excused, I'll switch back to Portuguese.
Good morning to those who I haven't seen before. It's a privilege to see you here at Cruzeiro's plant. It's a special plant, the plant that started everything, started our company. I'm not going to use a lot of your time with my slides, but I believe Luis has mentioned a lot about everything that I've presented, that you see in this slide. And I believe most of you know the trends that you have here on the slide. As part of the industry, and mainly as a user. These are words that are everywhere in the news, in our conversations every day. So I believe that what is important is the intention to develop this rationale behind it. The same way Peter did. How can these trends impact our business? And how are we dealing with it? I could say that there are threats, but there are also opportunities in this modification and these trends. I think that there's one thing that's clear for sure. When you talk about threat, different from our sector or from different sectors and industries, we are going to really see a disruption, changing the way towards electrification. But our specific industry, the segment we work with, you see, cars will still take passengers around, trucks will move cargo, and they are still going to need the structural components. It's a matter of physics. It's a matter of mechanics. There's no running out. There's no way out to it. And you see that in the last years, the characteristics of these products has been changing. The need for weight reduction, the application of new technologies, and the need to use new materials is crescent. So during this presentation, I am going to show you with examples so that you can get to understand a little bit more what we can do about this. In regard to opportunities, I can say that there are two main ones. First is the OEMs that are traditionally working with us. They already use our components. When they migrate to the electric vehicles, they need to add additional structural components to be able to sustain those engines and batteries. They need to have a specific place for protection to sustain this, and this is our opportunity. And new players. If you look at the North American market, the number of startups and car producers that have emerged in the last 3 years, it's something out of reality. It is something we were unable to see in the past 3 years. I've been here with Maxion for 23 years, and I have never seen this. So there is great opportunity. These companies are coming with very low know-how, and they need suppliers like us, especially with structural components. They need our know-how. So there's opportunity for us to increase our position within the market. To make this even clearer for you, of course, we are using paper, and of course, you're going to be able to see the products and the processes, and you're going to see how clear this is going to be for you. I want to present what our division is all about and talk about our products. I think it's important. We are present mainly, as Marco said, in the Americas, mainly. Okay, our revenue reached 2.2 billion reais in North America and 2.4 billion reais in South America. So that you have an idea, today we have more than 10,000 different products in production. And each development, each client, each car needs one situation in a product. For specific OEMs, there are 10 plants and more than 7,000 employees in 4 countries. Let me just get into some of the details in regard to our products. There are mainly 4 segments. First, commercial vehicles, as Marco said. This is the main market. The main product would be, for example, what we call the frame rail or the side rail. And this can be delivered in a full assembled product or just a piece. But not only that. Inside the truck or inside one bus, any company that is made of metal that is transformed, we work with. We are able to create, fabricate, manufacture. So the participation in the market is very strong, especially with trucks. What you see here is a bumper assembly. You also see mudguard, battery supports, cross blocks. You also see assembled cross blocks or parts of cross blocks. Well, I just advanced this a little bit. I think this is an important slide, an interesting slide. You're going to be able to see this part in production, and it's made a difference in the last 3 years. We are now offering apparent item, cabin items, and we are now doing this. This was something inserted in the market. This is for Mercedes-Benz in Brazil, and then they export it. And this is the first time we are creating items we call skins, apparent items that serve a structure. So in the car, you see the side, the external part. You have no idea how much material there is in there, what is behind that looks and what structures the car and makes the car safe and makes the car able to transport that weight. The amount of structural components there is much superior inside a vehicle than you see outside as a skin. Let's talk about opportunities within South America. And I am going to get back to you and explain if needed. But the last item you see, which is a side ladder to make it possible for a movement Of course, it's not a beautiful or sexy design, just the wheels that we create, but you don't see this, you don't see beauty in it, but you see safety in it. A second segment, which is very important, are the pickups and SUVs. We don't work with buses and trucks, we also work with the pickups and SUVs. It is a pickup chassis that you hear here. It is an important structure. Why do they need this? Well, it's a car that transports cargo. But pickups and SUVs, they need chassis different from cars. We assemble everything and deliver it to the client in full. There are more than 250 items of structure inside a car like this. You will be able to see this during our visit, and this is, for example, an S10 GM pickup. But we also do this in Argentina. We create them. We have a stamping and assembly line, especially for the chassis for pickups. For example, we also have the cross car beam and the semi frame, the rear bumper. This is what we offer for pickup trucks and SUVs.
For light vehicles, we don't work with skin anymore, but we do provide today 100% of structural components for cars. You see a car down there downstairs where we provide 85% of the components. It's a Fiat car. Part of this is focused in our plant in Contagem. That plant is focused specifically on light vehicles. Here we have more of a division. But for those of you who know the names, we have all kinds of supports, cross members, firewalls, frontal impact cross member, headlight support, and the entire range of light vehicle components. And finally, another segment we have been aiming for, uh, something that's very special to Brazilian culture. This is a business where you have a very pulverized market with very small, numerous smaller producers, but we already have a good presence in rails for uh, uh, harvesters also. So agricultural vehicles are another of our options. Now, moving back to what I was starting to talk to you about the rationale I started talking about when I started. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about our trends in the different regions, especially in North America and South America. I'm going to start with South America. If you look at the top on the right, you see the drop in the market mainly because of Brazil, and then you see a growth in 2026 there. I would not be concerned. Of course, interest rates are very important, especially when you're talking about financing for trucks. But this drop you have seen from 2022 to 2023, it has happened already. It happens in 2011 to 2012 when the legislation changed. And now with the change from the 5 to the 7, we already have the same movement. We're talking about moving to less expensive vehicles, moving on to more expensive, 15 to 20% more expensive trucks. So what the companies do is they anticipate the purchase, you increase the volume of purchase when you still have the lower prices, then the sales drop. And if you monitor, the sales don't fall as much as production because things are going to be balanced in with time. And those of us who are familiar with the sector, we had time the entirety of last year to prepare for this smaller demand. Another fact that I see as a great opportunity when we know this growth is going to happen and this variation is going to occur, we are uh, taking the time to invest in capacity and do it even stronger that next year to prepare for the production. So we were prepared for the drop and we're taking the opportunity to invest in capacity. Oh, investments in capacity take time to rend to yield fruits. So we are doing that. We have many opportunities in South America. I have shown you the cabin. Uh, we have 100% participation in Mercedes-Benz. They represent 25% of the market, and we have a potential of doubling our share of the market with a participation in other OEMs. So this is a very strong position considering other components we supply. And another one regards the electric vehicles. And I'm going to show you some interesting examples that are going to explain the rationale I mentioned in the beginning concerning threats and opportunities. Here, what you see is the famous bus battery rack. You're going to see that physically now when we go on the tour. Mercedes-Benz created a basic design, opened it for a bid to the market, and with our engineering team, we have created a rack that is 64% lighter than their baseline and with 11% lower cost. This is a success case. We are already providing this product for electric buses. This is a volume with not a big volume market segment where the market is too low, but this is a segment that is going to bring us great impact in the future. The second example, another traditional OEM truck you're going to see in the back, and we have this designed from scratch a frame for this electric vehicle. OEMs work in two ways. Either they take a vehicle with a combustion engine and adapt it to the electric. Sometimes is what they do because development costs are very high. But in this specific case, we have worked with Volkswagen from scratch to design this frame for this line of trucks. And finally, an example for South America that covers the second part of the opportunity I mentioned. This is Reborn. It today buys the chassis, the frame from combustion engines and adapt them to electric vehicles. They found out about us, they got to know our skills, and we have signed an agreement. And this is a frame we are designing and producing from scratch for this electric vehicle, as we did for Volkswagen. The job we did for Volkswagen allowed us to start this process. We found out about Reborn, so the idea for them. So now we are going to produce this chassis, this frame from scratch for Reborn. Now moving on to North America. That's a whole different market. If we talk about produced trucks, you see that it is three and a half, four times bigger, completely different market. And differently from what's happening in South America, we have a stable growth. In 2022, they had record production of trucks in the United States, and people ask, what about the recession in the States? Marcos has participated in many meetings with us, and we don't see that. At least in commercial vehicles, we don't see a recession. And we have had this year many requests for improvement in our volume productions and deliveries. So you have 574 We have a small drop in 2024 that I think we're going to offset, and then we don't see 2025, but it already shows a growth, and this is the expectation of the market with a growth to 702 for 2026. This is a very competitive market, and if you don't generate competitivity, you open room to lose part of your share. So we are aiming at meeting that increased demand. And here I see two new opportunities. When I showed you the footprint, I don't know if you observed the participation, the share of structural components. In South America, we have about 40%, and I do believe that thanks to the product and the amount of products we do provide, I think we can double the share of our structural components. We've made a recent investment with a heavier participation in structural components. We have finalized this investment, and this line is mostly sold out. So this is an opportunity for us to leverage our business and grow even more in North America. And here, really mainly on electric vehicle. Differently from South American market, though I showed you three examples, in the United States, especially the amount of opportunities for electric vehicles is huge. This is an example I want to show you. This is a battery rack and housing, similar to the one we had in Brazil. Here it was for Mercedes. This is for MSC. Similar. This is kind of similar to Daimler here. It's a process. We are still in the beginning. We are developing with the same characteristics in terms of technology we have implemented here, but this is very interesting. You develop a product for a client at a location, and then scale that to other clients in other regions. Three new examples of new players in the market that we see mainly in North America. This is Rivian. Many of you may be familiar with it already. They have sold the last mile events about 100,000 vehicles for Amazon, and we produced the front suspension support. So it's an opportunity to build products we have the know-how to build for clients. This piece is being produced since the beginning of last year, and we'll keep moving, producing it for the next couple of years until we reach the total amount of 100,000 pieces. Another example is Bollinger. It's another new player in the segment. This is a full electric vehicle. You see the differences in the chassis with the preparation for the battery packs to uh, run the electric engines. Here you have Harbinger with electric vehicles with different chassis, but with the same development uh, process and rationale. As I mentioned, the work we have been preparing ourselves with advanced engineering for the last 8 years don't bear short-term results, but we don't think about that only. If you look at our innovation development pipeline, we have short, medium-term projects because they do generate new business. Innovation is important, but we need to pay attention to our long term pipeline. I'm going to show you some new players, some startups we have partnerships with. The first one is a Nanum. With these examples, we try to bring functionality to our structures. When you've been in the sector, in the industry for a long time, you start to concern that get concerned that the structural components have structural functions, but to start thinking what other functionalities can we add to our components. This first work we have here is with composites. This is for specifically for a commercial vehicle, and the idea is to store small quantities of energy in the composite so the truck can feed smaller electric systems such as light, head, backlights. The other work is also very interesting, which means installing micro nanosensors in the structural components, allowing for real-time data collection for the OEM, so they can understand what's happening on the structure depending on how the truck is used, so you can continue developing on it. And last but not least, this is my last slide. I think this is one of the most interesting developments we have. We're talking about commercial vehicles, cars, but this is a partnership with Embraer that is very interesting. We have many development projects with IPT and Associated dos Campos developing technologies with compositives for structures for commercial vehicles and trucks. Embraer has huge knowledge on composites for airplanes. But what did catch their attention regarding the work we did with IPT? The work we're doing is based on the scale and volume of commercial vehicles in Brazil. We're talking about 160, 180,000 trucks. Embraer did a spin-off to produce those uh, drones. Their volume is much higher than the volume of airplanes they produce. So the structure they have for composites are not adequate for the drones. Here we have one component. There are hundreds of them, so this is an opportunity for us to develop new products, and it's a huge opportunity. So I hope I have been able to tell you a little bit about what we do, how we are preparing for the changes in the industry. Someone said, well, we've been hearing people talk about electric vehicles for a long time. I've been in the area for 23 years. This has come and gone, but I have to tell you that in the last 3 or 4 years, it has grown so much that we cannot say this wave will pass. This is here to stay in all regions we work with, and all clients we work with, all projects are gaining maturity, are becoming more robust. And with this, thank you for listening. And with this, I'm going to pass the floor on to Marcos so he can conclude our presentation. Thank you, Marcos, Peter, Luis, uh, Renato. We try to condense in 1.5 hours a lot of information of our products, our past developments, our future developments, the capacity and potential we have to offer the mobility industry. We have products and technologies that we have shown you last year. We have smart wheels and other products and technologies that we have shown you before, and we didn't want to repeat. We wanted to show you new concepts and new solutions to really put Iochpe-Maxion in context according to the trends we talked about in terms of electrification and sustainability. And our strategy for business development and sustainability, this is a very important aspect in production process, administrative management processes. And we have developed and are implementing many actions in all our global operations to find to become carbon neutral by 2040. Our strategy has defined a 30% reduce in scope 1 and 2 that should be achieved by 2025. We aim for a reduction by 2030, but with aiming at a full neutrality for 2040. Uh, in the end of last year, beginning of this year, we have signed agreements towards that. For the second year, we are in the ISE B3 Sustainability Index. Our sustainability scores are growing through CDP, EcoVadis. We're growing year after year. Our sustainability reports for the third year show a lot of what we have been doing regarding the different ESG aspects. We talk a lot about sustainability. We talk a lot about what we do in governance, social aspects. These are important, and our sustainability report reflects more and more externally what we have done and are doing to evolve in that sense.
Among the efforts that you see in regard to ESG, the social aspect is one thing that has always been present within the concerns that we have as a company. We have an effort and corporate responsibility actions all over the world. We have a video to show you soon of some of the examples of everything that we do all over the world and the engagement and involved of people within the social activity that we have is prominent. We wouldn't like to go without mentioning the program that we consider key and we have developed for over 30 years, which is called Formare. It's a teenage low-income development program to foment work for them in Brazil. And we have replicated this in Mexico, and we are now expanding the same program in other countries we operate. It's a nationally renowned program. It has more than 1,500 students in its history, and they were really taken into the market, a correction with more than 1,000 students. These students at the time became our professionals, and we have several examples. Many teenagers who are now in the market, not only in Brazil, but all over the world, people in North America. And without this program, probably they wouldn't stand a chance, unfortunately, to be inserted in the market, to work, to go after their undergraduate courses in other areas to add to what they become as professionals. This is a little bit of what we have in the company DNA. And it's not an effort that we started last year only. It's just something that is not there to cover for ESG goals. It's not for public visibility. It's really part of the DNA. It's older than 30 years. There is a video that we are now going to present you. It's sort of a collage you're going to see. as I mentioned, this is within the company's DNA, locally and globally. And the idea here is to get our employees involved globally in the initiatives. And it's important. It's not everything we do as a company producing the products we do, but we have more than 17,000 employees all over the world, and they are engaged, supporting the local community, society, everything where we operate in the world. Globally, we have a qualified team, multicultural team of more than 40 nationalities. All they come from everywhere. We have an internal talent program that is well structured, well developed, with the purpose of providing them with opportunities for growth, development, and it's a very strong relationship with the communities where we are, with programs and initiatives that are pertinent to the needs of each city, each county, each state, each region we operate. We have a diversity program that was launched 2.5 years ago, and it's important. It's a natural part of our operation. But it has also the purpose of developing culture, understanding, raising awareness, and creating opportunities to use the human potential at its best level, developing courses, developing people with them so that they can contribute with the company, contribute to society in the different countries we operate in. It's called Unique and United. Well, this is our last formal presentation slide, and it shows everything in summary, what we've been doing, what is in our strategy, in our planning. And just to try to summarize to you, I think everything was very clear with Renato, Elcio, and Peters in their presentation. Our strategy here is to expand the portfolio, especially with structural components. I think Renato's presentation was very clear in the sense. We do a lot of things now, you see, but we are also developing new things to the future clients, for the future clients. In regard to positioning, we are the leaders on commercial wheels and commercial vehicles and wheels, leader of structural components, and we want to keep doing this great job. We want to strengthen this, especially with aluminum wheel for commercial vehicles. There is a project that's very strong, and we are now building our plant for that capacity expansion in Brazil and Mexico. And we want still moving forward, continuing with this strengthening, developing new strategies and new opportunities for existing customers and future customers in the segment of electrified vehicles. We believe this is a very good opportunity. It's not a disruption for our business, but it is an opportunity for expansion and growth. Another thing that is important is to be able to create to expand in Asia. We want to increase our participation. We want to generate revenue. We are now at 9 to 10% a year. And Asia, of course, India and China and other countries, this is the most representative market at a global level. We want to grow in Asia. This is why the aluminum wheels plant in India is receiving a lot of attention, and also China. We are increasing capacity in this region to be able to grow. Launching of new products is continuous. This is to meet clients' demand and also to attract new ones. Peter said that during his presentation, and also Renat, they've mentioned some names you probably haven't heard of, but they are companies that are growing. For example, Neo, Fisker, Chinese companies. They are small, for example, Reborn, Bollinger, and other. They are growing in the segment, and Riven, which is now a well-established company in the US. This is important for us to be able to launch products and attract these new clients to our clients database. Use of technologies and advanced tooling to advance not only with product development, but also to improve operational efficiency. How can we produce more lighter vehicles, more efficient vehicles with the products that we provide? We look into finding innovative solutions for the industry, and this really brings you a broad perspective of what Maxion can offer to clients. We now have the opportunity to clarify anything you may have as questions. Let's open up our QA. We also have a minute for Iochpe-Maxion. Iochpe-Maxion is going to speak today. I'll give you the floor. Thank you, Marcos. Congratulations on today's presentation. Thank you very much for all of the analysts' presence. The reason I am here is the following. I would like to thank you and give you this as a representation of our partnership of over 23 years. This means the company is committed to us and to the market, committed to providing correct information, and we value this. We thank you very much for this partnership and all of the presentations you've thrown today to all of our consultants. Last night, I was just telling them, telling all of our consultants, I've been with Iochpe-Maxion from their very beginning. The company is going to turn 54 years old. It was very frequent in the past to receive visits on site at company's place, and the company just really stopped that from happening. And to all of the professionals who are here, the young consultants, it was very important for them. It helps our work because they understand, they can really grasp what the company is. So I would like to thank you for this opportunity because with this, you are making everything you can to improve this relationship. And to the analysts, I have a message. You are going to receive an email with a form. It's a short questionnaire in regard to this presentation. This is probably going to be in a competition to in regard to best company presentation for analysts. This conversation from today deserves a prize. Thank you very much for the partnership. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for being here too. Thank you for attending and vote for us. I think that now it's the best opportunity for our questions and answers. We will try our best to clarify many of the points that can be of general interest, and it's important to be able to clarify anything you may need. One question here. Hello, good morning. Lucas Lage, XP. First of all, thank you for putting this event together and for the presentations. I have 2 points to address and I would like to explore further with you. Everything related to the same point, which is product moving forward, especially with wheels. And of course, a little bit of the presentation with Peter. Iochpe has gained its relevance with the aluminum production, especially with the acquisition of Reinslammers. And from now on, we see that aluminum brings some aesthetics that is important. That is their advantage, competitive advantage in this regard. But considering other things, in regard to sustainability, steel is more prominent. But I believe that also weight plays an important role, and it has been decreasing. With light vehicles, I would like to understand a little bit more. What do you see that's coming to the future in regard to this mix? Do you see more steel being used or more aluminum being used? And what is going to sustain the relevance with aluminum in the next years? Do you think there is an advantage you see for aluminum that may sustain this relevance in the next decades? And to wrap, and considering commercial vehicles, we saw the recent announcement from the capacity for Turkey in aluminum wheels for commercial vehicles. I would like to know the size of this market you see for this niche. This capacity of 1.5 million is already addressing this ambition with Maxion, or do you think that there's a global opportunity for the forged wheels, or do you think this is something that is more for the European market? I would like to understand what you see in regard to aluminum for commercial vehicles. There are two things I know they can relate, the mix and the light vehicles and the commercial aspects of aluminum, please. Peter, would you like to answer?
In English, in bad English. Yes, thank you for the questions. So let's start with pass car wheels, steel versus aluminum. We believe there's a good future for both of them. I think when you need aesthetics, when you want aesthetics, when you want to afford aesthetics, I think aluminum wheels will remain predominant. Many reasons for that. I gave a couple during dinner last night to a few of you. If you make a tooling for an aluminum wheel, it's about 15 times cheaper than for a steel wheel. Also, the development time is about 6-7 times faster for aluminum. Baking cookies is faster than stamping metal, right? So there is advantages for aluminum. Not the weight anymore. Steel wheels can be competitive from a weight point of view. We are able to give more styling to steel wheels, but not as much and as quick as with aluminum wheels. If you think about shared mobility, for instance, as an example to answer your question, you may say, okay, is that more steel wheels then, or is that more aluminum wheels? And I think, there's even in that, with that trend, there's a path for both. If you take your car and you only go from A to B, maybe you don't care so much how nice the wheels look, right? The car needs to be competitive price, it needs to be safe, it needs to have good quality, right? Maybe it's a steel wheel, right? But at the same time, you say share mobility, you say, I don't want to pay 50,000 euros for a BMW, but I will pay 200 euros to have it for a weekend, and I want to have a real good-looking car. Now I need aluminum wheels, right? So even with that kind of trend, there is a path forward for both. So we are happy with having them both in the portfolio, and we will work on both products to be ready for the future and profit from the future. So that's for passenger cars. Then on the truck side, I think your first question was what's the share, etc. In Europe, and this is, our venture here is primarily focused on Europe. There is very large competitors, good competitors in the United States. There's not a lot of demand yet in places like India or not even in China or Brazil. And so our emphasis is on Europe because that's where we see electrification for trucks coming up a little bit. And that's why we believe that the usual share of aluminum wheels, which is 10 to 15%, it may go up a little bit. It may go to 15 to 20%. We believe there's very many reasons for steel wheels to remain predominant. Our customers tell us that. We believe in that as well. But there may be a little bit more traction for aluminum wheels. And that's why we decided, hey, if that's the case, we also want to be playing in that domain. And so a little bit more traction for aluminum wheels, but the market will remain predominantly steel wheels.
Okay, thank you, Peter.
Welcome.
Thank you, Peter.
Josh, I think that only for a final comment, I think that all of the materials we use and we believe the existence and everything we've mentioned, the use of usual and collective vehicles brings a sustainability topic to the discussion.
This is much more user friendly. That's why we believe that aluminum and steel is a mix that's going to be very beneficial in the present and in the future. Do you hear me? Gabriel Rezende from Itaú BBI. It's thanks for the presentation. It's a pleasure for us to be here in person. Two questions. Combining what Peter and Renato have brought in terms of volume and maybe the United States being positive perspective and a little bit of negative perspectives for Brazil, we seem to have positive perspective for Brazil. How does that reflect on the company's leverage in terms of reflecting on margin in the next few quarters? Will we have gradual improvement? This is the first one. And also mentioned the improvement of the company regarding its history. the company has a policy of distributing about 37%, but it could be bigger if the company chose to bring the liquidity closer to its history. So I want to understand how you think about that movement. I'll let Elcio answer your question. Thank you for the answer. I'm going to start from the last to the first. The company wants to be prepared for important market events. If in the past we carried a little bit less cash, geopolitical and market conditions around the world were different. In the last few years, we have seen more typical occurrences that have required more flexibility from the company. So we intend to maintain the levels we had at the end of the year, but it's important to maintain a level that brings us comfort and more security when meeting unforeseen events in the future. And you are correct when you talk about the margin and everything. When we were elaborating our budget for 2023 at the end of last year, we had a very unsure scenario for Europe. Nobody knew what was going to happen. So we were very conservative regarding Europe. And Brazil seemed to be in a more positive scenario. And then once we entered 2023, everything we had estimated in terms of volume, global volume, has changed because of this diversity and the reality in the last few months. So, with regards to the margin, it's hard to talk about changes in the next few quarters and improvements here and there, but our historic levels are important. We have had changes regarding price of raw materials, but if you look throughout the year, these forces are going to balance and we'll be able to deliver on our margins. And gradually, through time, these projects and initiatives are maturing and they will gradually bring our structural margin up for the future. Thank you, Elcio. Hello, good morning. Andressa from SB. Thank you for the event. My question is more for Renato in terms of structural components. We have seen nearshoring topic, shoring as a trend in the automotive industry. And my question is, how has your ship benefit from this until now? How are you preparing for these changes? And looking at the numbers, I think structural components divisions, its strength is in cross beams. And how can you take advantage of these investments in Mexico? Okay, thank you for your question. During their explanation, when I talk about our geographic position in Mexico being that close to the US border, that's a very positive advantage. We take advantage of the lower cost in Mexico when compared to the United States. When we talk to our main clients in the United States, even if we were to analyze the possibility of investing in the US, it's hard to make that feasible because of cost, logistics, and thanks to the proximity of Mexico to to the states. I think we are in a very good position. Our investments will continue, have continued, and will continue to be in Mexico. And I think that's it. I don't know if there's anything we can add. I think the opportunities Renato has mentioned in his presentation are going to be more evident in our investments. We have a new stamping plant in Mexico, and we have invested with a view to the future, to the growth, with all that Renato has mentioned. Our new capacity is basically sold. We are increasing production capacity in the Monclova plant also to meet the needs of that industry that go for those 700,000 trucks. These are according to the forecast of IHS and LMC, and also of the OEMs. This reflects the growth of the sector. We will have variations up and down, but the demand is growing, and we have been increasing our capacity to meet those demands in terms of structural components, but also in terms of wheels. We have expanded our wheels complex in San Luis Potosi. We have expanded to produce Versa style wheels, to produce more commercial vehicle wheels. Our complex in San Luis Potosi is growing to produce more wheels for commercial vehicles. We have a new cure uh, process that is bringing greater capacity into our plant. Our aluminum wheel plant in Chihuahua also has great potential. So you see the potential of Mexico is great, especially when you consider nearshoring. We have a very interesting opportunity both for structural components and wheels. And just to add something, this nearshoring topic has really come into light in the recent years. But this has been one of our characteristics for a long time. If you look not only in South and North America, but look at Europe, we produce in Europe to deliver in Europe. We produce in Asia to deliver in Asia. This is one of our characteristics as a company, and we are very well positioned to meet or to follow this new trend. Good morning, Vitor from Bradesco. Congratulations on the event. I have a couple of questions. One regarding the potential of growth for China. Marcus, you have mentioned about the great potential of that market. And my question is, can we compare what would be the farm market for Iochpe in this market, the time frame for that, how Iochpe's marketing is going to work in Europe and the US, and then connecting it to Renato's presentation, if you could comment how you relate this products, the focus on uh, this production. So would this be possible to, how can you think about that considering new materials, new OEMs, shared and urban mobility, the number of electric vehicles? Can this become affect the margin in the future? Do you think these changes in Iochpe can increase this margin? Peter, thank you for this um, question. Regarding Asia, we have operations in Thailand, as Peter mentioned. We are growing in China, but we do believe the greatest potential for growth for us, and I mean growth in terms of revenues, margin, is in India. First of all, because they're in a very good position for steel and also for aluminum wheels. All our new products are bringing us better margins than our current projects. In India is the market with the greatest growth potential in the next 10, 15 years. The Chinese market is already established. Egypt is a country with a population and size similar to China, and India in the next 10, 15 years will provide the greatest growth in the automotive industry. We like operating in India, we have good results there, and we believe we have good growth potential, not only thanks to the growth in volume, but the aluminum market wheels market is going to grow a lot there in India. Market share depends on many factors, mix of growth and everything, but we clearly see representativeness in India that is much bigger than it had in the past. And in the case of aluminum wheels, since we have entered the market in the beginning of this growth wave, we have an opportunity to be one of the biggest players in this market in the present, in the future. We like both markets. We believe India has a greater potential. China is still a market for us. It is an important market. We can establish a presence in terms of products and technologies in the local markets, so these vehicles can be produced and exported to other countries, produced by other Chinese producers who are producing in other countries. And being present there will make things easier for us. But the capacity is still not that big in terms of aluminum wheels. 2 million wheels is a small capacity when compared to the Chinese established producers. We don't aim to be the largest producer of aluminum wheels in China, especially because this is a more competitive market, so economically would not be the most efficiency. On the other hand, and steel wheels, uh, the we're increasing our capacity, and we do believe there's a great potential for growth. But again, this established market with many players operating there already. Considering all this and looking at your second question, examining the results for our new projects, we have a growing margin. When we launch a product in terms of technology of project, when we start a new plant, we aim things choosing the best possible moment in all aspects and aiming for better margins. And we have achieved that really. When we look at the return on the investment on these projects, it's very interesting, but it's also brings very good margins. So our expectations is to grow our margin as these projects become realities. I think for time reasons to allow us to conduct our plant tour, we want to once again thank you all for being with us. Thank you all, those of you who will be able to watch our presentations and online. We'll have other opportunities during the tour and the lunch break to answer lots of your questions. We are all going to be here and we'll all be available to answer other questions. Once again, thank you all for being with us. We'll have a very quick presentation regarding the plant tour. We have Luciano and Celso. Luciano is responsible for structural components operation.